Christmas. It's supposed to be the season of joy, of forgiveness, of families coming together around a warm fire. But let me tell you, not all fires are meant to keep you warm. Some fires are meant to burn everything to the ground. Imagine this scenario. You are sitting at the head of your own dining table. The turkey is carved, the wine is pouring. To your right sits your husband of 10 years, holding your hand, smiling that charming smile that made you fall for him in college. Across from him sits a young, beautiful woman, his new assistant, who he insisted had nowhere else to go for the holidays. They think you're stupid. They think you're blind. They're playing footsie under the table, sharing secret glances, thinking they've pulled off the ultimate deception right under your nose. But what they don't know is that the red gift box sitting under the tree with your husband's name on it doesn't contain the Rolex he asked for. It contains a bomb. Not a literal one, but a legal one. A single piece of paper that, in the next 20 minutes, is going to strip him of his house, his fortune, and his reputation. Welcome to the story of the most brutal, calculated, and satisfying Christmas revenge in Reddit history. This is how one woman used a forgotten clause in a prenuptial agreement to turn a silent night into a total nightmare. Buckle up. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you love stories about karma, justice, and people getting exactly what they deserve, hit that subscribe button right now, because today's story is a masterpiece. We see a lot of cheating stories on the internet. Usually they end with a screaming match, some tears, and a messy breakup. But today's protagonist, let's call her Sarah, didn't choose the path of noise. She chose the path of silence. Sarah is a 32-year-old successful woman who thought she had the perfect life. She had the house, the cars, and the power couple status. But when she discovered her husband, Michael, had been living a double life for 6 months, she didn't pack her bags. She didn't confront him immediately. She checked her calendar, saw that Christmas was 3 weeks away, and decided to serve her revenge cold. Freezing cold. Why wait? Because of a little thing called a prenup, specifically a clause that Michael had completely forgotten about, a clause that was about to cost him millions. Today, we are going to walk through every step of this operation, from the first moment of suspicion to the gathering of evidence, and finally to that dinner party from hell. This isn't just a story, it's a masterclass in patience. Let's dive into part 1, the illusion. Sarah starts her post by setting the scene. She and Michael had been together since university, 10 years of marriage. To the outside world, they were untouchable. Michael was a high-flying tech executive, and Sarah had paused her own rising career in marketing to manage their estates and support his business ventures. They lived in a neighborhood where the lawns are manicured with scissors, and the neighbors don't talk about their problems. But as we all know, the shinier the apple, the more likely it is to be rotten on the inside. Sarah writes, Michael was always a pragmatic man. He was obsessed with numbers and security. Before we got married, his father, who is old money and very intimidating, insisted on a prenuptial agreement. At the time, I was young and in love. I was hurt. I thought, doesn't he trust me? Michael had grabbed her shoulders back then and said, Sarah, it's just paper. It's to keep my dad happy. It protects the family assets. It has nothing to do with us. So she signed it. She signed it without reading the fine print too closely, trusting the man she loved. She had no idea that 10 years later, that signature would be the only thing saving her. The shift happened gradually. It started with the classic signs. Michael, who used to be home by 6 p.m. like clockwork, started having late strategy meetings. His phone, which used to lie face up on the coffee table, was now always in his pocket, or placed face down. Sarah admits, I tried to ignore it. You don't want to believe the person you sleep next to is a stranger. But the breaking point came in November. Michael returned from a 2-day business trip to Chicago. As Sarah was unpacking his suitcase to take things to the dry cleaner, she lifted one of his dress shirts. It didn't smell like Michael. It didn't smell like airplane air or hotel soap. It smelled violently of vanilla and jasmine. Sarah wears light floral scents. This was heavy, musky, and undeniable. When she confronted him, casually, just asking, Hey, did you change your cologne? Michael didn't just deny it. He gaslit her. He laughed and said, You're crazy, honey. The woman sitting next to me on the plane spilled her duty-free perfume. I told you about that, didn't I? You really need to stop being so paranoid. Later that night, he bought her a diamond bracelet, a guilt gift. That was the moment Sarah stopped being a wife and started being a detective. Suspicion is a ghost. It haunts you until you find the body. Sarah spent the next week in a state of high anxiety. Every time his phone buzzed, her heart stopped, but she needed concrete proof. She didn't have to wait long. Technology, as it turns out, is a cheater's worst enemy. One Tuesday evening, Michael was in the shower. He had left his Apple Watch charging on the nightstand. He usually took it with him, but he must have forgotten. Suddenly, the screen lit up. A notification. It wasn't a text. It was a Discord notification. Now, Michael is a 34-year-old businessman. He doesn't use Discord for gaming. The message preview read, "The meeting was boring, but thinking about your hands on me kept me awake. Can't wait for our weekend." The sender's name? Jessica, assistant. Sarah's hands were shaking so hard she almost dropped the watch. She guessed his passcode. It wasn't hard. It was their anniversary date, 1/14. The irony, right? She opened the chat, and there it was. Not just a fling, not a one-time mistake. A full-blown 6-month relationship. Jessica was 24, fresh out of college, and Michael's new executive assistant. Reading the messages was like drinking poison. They were mocking Sarah. Michael wrote, "She's so boring now. She's aged poorly. I'm just waiting for the right time to drop the bomb. I don't want her taking half my stock options." Jessica replied, "Just hold on until the new year, babe. Then we can kick her out and redecorate that awful living room of hers." They were planning to divorce Sarah in January. They were planning to take the house she decorated, the life she built, and leave her with nothing. Sarah took photos of every single message with her own phone, hundreds of screenshots, photos sent, dates arranged, hotel confirmations. She had it all. She put the watch back exactly how she found it. When Michael came out of the shower, towel around his waist, smiling, Sarah didn't scream. She didn't cry. She smiled back and said, "Dinner is ready." That night, she didn't sleep. She plotted. The very next morning, Sarah called in sick. She didn't go to a doctor. She went to the most aggressive divorce attorney in the city. She brought the prenup. She told the lawyer, "I think I'm screwed. I signed this 10 years ago." The lawyer put on his glasses, read through the document, and then he started to smile. He looked at Sarah and said, "Did you know your father had his own lawyer review this before you signed it?" Sarah had forgotten. Her dad, a wise old businessman, had insisted on adding a specific clause, Clause 4B, the Infidelity Clause. Here is how it worked. In a normal, no-fault divorce, assets would be split based on Michael's terms, heavily favoring him. But, the document stated, if the dissolution of marriage is caused by proven infidelity or adultery by one party, all protection of separate assets is voided. It went further. If Michael cheated, the premarital asset protection dissolved. Sarah would be entitled to 50% of everything, plus a penalty transfer of the primary residence, and 40% of his company shares as alimony compensation. Basically, if he left her, she got a little bit. If he cheated on her, she got everything. The lawyer looked at Sarah and said, "We have the screenshots, but they could argue those are fabricated. We need undeniable proof. We need to catch him in the act or get a confession." Sarah thought about the timeline. It was early December. She said, "I can do better than a confession. I can get him to parade his mistress right in front of me." This is the part that takes nerves of steel. For 3 weeks, Sarah played the role of the loving wife. She cooked his favorite meals. She listened to him complain about work. She watched him text Jessica under the table and pretended not to notice. Then the opportunity dropped into her lap. Michael came home one night looking concerned. He said, "Honey, I feel terrible. My assistant, Jessica, she's new to the city. She has no family here. She's going to be all alone in her apartment for Christmas. I was thinking maybe we should invite her to our family dinner. It's the Christian thing to do." The audacity, the absolute shamelessness of this man. He wanted to bring his mistress into his wife's home on Christmas to play out some twisted fantasy. Sarah fought the urge to throw hot coffee in her face. Instead, she put on her best sympathetic face. "Oh, Michael, that's so sad. Of course invite her. Actually, tell her to come early. She can help with the hosting." Michael was beaming. He thought he had won the lottery. He thought Sarah was the most gullible woman on earth. Sarah immediately hired a private investigator for the days leading up to Christmas. She needed to seal the deal. The PI got 4K video footage of them kissing in the parking lot, bills from jewelry stores where he bought Jessica a necklace, using joint funds by the way, and hotel receipts.
After dinner, everyone moved to the living room for gifts. The fire was crackling. Michael played Santa, handing out presents. He gave Sarah a vacuum cleaner. Yes, a high-end vacuum cleaner. The man who was buying diamonds for his mistress gave his wife a vacuum. Sarah smiled and thanked him. Then she stood up. The room went quiet. "I have one last gift," Sarah announced. "This is for Michael. You've been working so hard this year, putting in so many late hours. I wanted to give you something that truly reflects the life you've been building." She handed him the heavy gold box. Michael shook it. He heard the liquid sloshing in the bottle. He grinned, thinking it was rare whiskey. Jessica watched from the corner, sipping her eggnog, looking smug. Michael tore off the paper. He opened the lid. "Oh, scotch. Nice," he said, pulling out the bottle. Keep looking, Sarah said, her voice dropping an octave. Dig deeper. Michael reached in and pulled out a stack of 8 by 10 high-resolution photos. The first photo was him and Jessica kissing in his car. The second was them entering a hotel. The third was a screenshot of the text, "Can't wait to kick her out and redecorate." The silence in that room was louder than a gunshot. Michael's face went from flush to pale ghost white in 1 second. He looked at the photos, then at Sarah, then at Jessica. Jessica dropped her glass. It shattered on the hardwood floor. Michael's mother stood up. "Michael, what is this?" Sarah didn't let him speak. She addressed the room. "Since Michael brought his girlfriend Jessica to our family Christmas, I thought we should all get to know her better. These are the records of their 6-month affair. And if you look at the bottom of the box, Michael, you'll find one more document." Michael, hands trembling, pulled out a blue folder. The divorce petition. "That," Sarah said, pointing to the papers, "is the invocation of the infidelity clause in our prenup. Because you cheated, and because I have proof, the house we are standing in is now 100% mine. Your shares in the company, 40% mine. Your savings, frozen as of this morning." She looked him dead in the eye. "You have 1 hour to pack a bag and get out of my house, and take your guest with you." The chaos that followed was biblical. Michael's father was screaming at him. Michael's mother was crying in the kitchen. Jessica tried to bolt out the front door, but Sarah's sister blocked her way and handed her coat, saying, "You forgot this, trash." Michael tried to argue. He tried to say it was a mistake. He tried to say the prenup wouldn't hold up. Sarah just pointed to the door. "Police are on speed dial, Michael. Don't make me use it." He left. He and Jessica drove off into the snowy night, but that wasn't the end of his suffering. In the months that followed, the courts upheld the prenup strictly. Because the evidence was so overwhelming and publicly revealed in front of witnesses, Michael's lawyers had zero leverage. He lost the house, he lost a massive chunk of his net worth. And the kicker? When news of the scandal in the lawsuit hit his company, the board of directors forced him to step down to avoid bad PR. He lost the job he loved so much. And what about Jessica, the love of his life? Well, it turns out Jessica liked Michael for the executive lifestyle. Once he was living in a rented 1-bedroom apartment, dealing with lawsuits and asset freezes, the romance faded pretty quickly. She dumped him 2 months later for a guy in finance. Sarah still lives in that beautiful house. She redecorated the living room exactly the way she wanted it, not the way Jessica had planned. She used the settlement money to start her own consultancy firm, helping women regain financial independence. This story is a brutal reminder of 2 things. Number 1, if you are going to do something as terrible as cheating on your spouse, don't be arrogant enough to think you're smarter than them. And number 2, always read the contract. Michael thought the prenup was his shield. He didn't realize that in the hands of a betrayed woman, it was a sword. Sarah didn't just get revenge, she got justice. She didn't scream, she calculated. And that is why this is the ultimate Christmas story. What do you guys think? Was Sarah's public humiliation of Michael too harsh, or did he get exactly what he deserved? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below, especially about the vacuum cleaner gift. That was just the cherry on top for me. If you enjoyed this story of high-stakes revenge, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a story. I'll see you in the next one. Stay loyal or stay single. Peace.